so today is March 19th, and this is the Senior Services Advisory Board meeting. You have your agendas in front of you. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask if we could approve the agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to add to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Beg your pardon?
I might. Something to do with the lunches at the senior center.
Can you talk to the microphone?
I don't want to talk to my phone. I might want to address the to-go, the extra food that's being sold at the senior center after lunch.
Okay, so we should put that under...
All business, new business.
Could we under member comments? Which we already have.
It could be. We could put under member comments. I'll just make a note. I added that as an agenda item because I thought there would be often things that we want to talk about that might not be on the agenda but that are germane to the issue. So.
And the reason you were putting up hires so we have discussion on it, before we're leaving.
Yeah.
Usually.
Ray moved to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved. I do have the minutes on here. Doug did a really nice job. Ray, you had one comment about a misspelling. I don't know where it is on here, but Doug will take care of that, I'm sure.
He's kind of.
I wouldn't know how it's being spelled.
Tolerant,
I thought it was, I thought someone told me it was clear.
There's a name that's misspelled.
Dan Kramer used to be the chair. They had their quit.
Are there any other corrections to the minutes? Move for the adoption of the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you very much, Doug. Public comment. We have public today. Would anyone like to comment?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. Old business. I passed out the parking feasibility study only because I think it's a very important document. But I will tell you, and I really think that it's important that we read this. I'll go over some of the highlights. But I will tell you that the Planning Commission is meeting again next Monday, and they will be discussing a reworking of the section that talks about the meal cost. Because the costs associated with the meals within this report are wrong. And one of the Planning Commission members has committed to sitting with Miles and recalculating that, so I don't want you to be upset. It will be changed, that number will be changed next Monday. And anyone can go to that meeting who wants to go to the meeting. It's at 6 o'clock right here in this room. They did a very thorough job with this. They took our emergency contact book and made an Excel spreadsheet of all the people who, since 2021, have signed into the senior center. And the result of that was that, I can't read the number because I left my glasses someplace, 47%, I think it is, live outside of the township.
27 or 47?
47. You can see this little pie graph at the bottom of page 5. On page 6, they talked about the high days and the low days of meal counts, which were our most popular meals and which are our least popular meals. And of those meals, how many? They used last year's data, January 1 to the end of December. And you can see that, like, Thanksgiving was really popular. All these meatloaf days are really popular. Anytime we have meat and potatoes, it's very popular. And you can see how many people were taking the meal out and how many people were eating in. And then our least popular days. Another thing that they looked at on page 7 was foot traffic. You can see on the bottom of page 8, just if you look at the graph, the red are when people are, the green are when people are coming in, and the red are when people are leaving. This is on page 7. So the first is Monday, then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They used cameras, new cameras and new technology that we have outside all of the township buildings. to see when were the times when the center was the busiest. And you can see that people come in before lunch at different times, and then after lunch is over on Monday, they all leave. And that's what your graph shows. Then you can see on Tuesday the card players, on Wednesday what happened, Thursday the card players, and then Friday. Hi. Page 7. 8. Oh, sorry, page 8.
Oh, yeah, there's.
Page 8.
How do you know what day?
I think on page 8, this last Friday, people must have come in after lunch for bingo.
How do you know what days these are?
It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. I mean, I was at the meeting. I mean, maybe it says that on there, but. On page 9, they talk about the forecasted growth for the senior population in the township. And it's really quite interesting. Right now, when I read that this morning, it said that 29%, it's on page 10, 29% of the population in Bath Township at this point in time are over the age of 55, and that they think that that will gradually rise to 31% of the population in the next 10 years.
Is it 20% now?
29%, and they are projecting that it will raise to 31%. Section 3 is the parking feasibility study. And this is interesting as well. And they have, it's the next 4 pages, page 11 through page 13. So they've taken a look at what is available, and they say in this report that we have 34 places available, and that there are days when we, of course on those high vehicle count days, that we overextend and take additional parking places in the lot. They also say that this whole campus was kind of piecemeal put together. There wasn't a lot of strategy to it, and it could have been thought out a little bit better. But on page 12, you'll see the green in the picture. You'll see the green that identifies where the parking is for the senior center. At the bottom, that graphic shows what they were thinking about as far as the drive-in pickup rather than having people park and walk in, but they decided in this that that's just not feasible. The recommendation is in this. They say it would be possible at the bottom of page 12 to add 4 spots to the existing parking, which in my opinion would be not for the addition, not the expansion, but if we would put on the addition. What's interesting, then they look at the cost for a parking spot. So what they did, this is not just the cost of a parking spot. So the data analysis, what they did was they took all of the money in the budget that's assigned to the senior center. And then they asked Ben Zeeb what it costs for DPW to clean the building for a year, and he said $10,000. So they added that to what's budgeted for the senior center, which was $193,000. Then they added the $10,000, came up with $203,000. And then you'll see the math in here that they divided that by the number of meals served to figure out what each meal cost, which they assumed was $17.19. So one of the planning board members said that he's retired from the food service industry, that they didn't calculate that. This is the part that's going to come back and be changed at the next meeting.
What part?
This part about the cost per meal.
Oh.
Where are you now?
15.
About the middle.
We're talking about page 14 and 15.
Okay.
And on the page 15, halfway down at the end of that paragraph, it says $17.19.
So is that price supposed to go down or up?
It will go down. It will go down.
And what criteria did he challenge?
Pouring all the cost of operating it as a business into
The meals.
by the meals.
Snow plowing, et cetera.
So anyways, he's challenged that. I have had several of the planning board members into the senior center to eat. And this man came on Sloppy Joe Day. And he laughed when he saw that number. He said, I came in, they were serving Sloppy Joes, I'd say it was $2.50. Anyways, so
What is the name of the person that's challenged?
Mark,
With an N.
he's gonna work, he was to work with Miles this week and get all that changed. So we'll come back.
Oh, wait a minute, he's just saying that with the cost of the building and the employees and everything else, and food,
The heating and the air conditioning and the cleaning and
that it costs $17 a night. Why is that an unrealistic number?
I think what they're trying to say is that you're basically saying that's the only product that's being produced as a result of all of this work and all of these resources. Well, there's other product that's being produced. Community, different seminars. Someone could come there and enjoy the benefits of the senior center and never eat a meal. So to load everything into meal costs, he's saying that feels unreasonable because there's other stuff that's being created.
But that's the only revenue in source, influx. True, hard currency is the cost of the meals. I think that's
Well-
how they use just that.
And of course, the cost to play cards.
Do they charge for that too?
They do.
Where have you been?
Where you been? Right next to me, I thought.
I grew up in Lansing.
$1 a person and $100
It's like your
deposit.
home cost. You can't, your meal is not your only.
Under section 5, in section 5, they talk about their baseline data, but then they also talk about recommendations. And when I read this, the first sentence that says the planning department recommendation of this section of the report are based upon the perceived problem of insufficient parking supply to meet the peak demand. That's not the question that we ask. That's not why we ask for a parking feasibility study. We asked for a parking feasibility study to determine whether or not there was enough space out there, should we put an addition onto the building, that we would have the 3 required additional parking places in order for us to move ahead. And so I challenged him on that. That's not why we came. This is not why we came to the trustees. It's not why we came to the planning board. And the response I got was that they feel they can't just look at one part of the issue without studying the whole circumstances that are related to the senior center, which involves traffic, foot traffic, people who are in town, people who are out of town. They had a really interesting discussion about what to do about the people who live out of town and come and eat. Nancy, may I ask, are you all right?
I'm all right, I just have a headache.
Okay,
I'll be fine.
all right. They had quite a discussion about the people who are out of town, saying that perhaps we should charge them more, or perhaps we shouldn't serve them. I mean, literally, they were speaking like this. And it was determined that we should serve them, that we should look at other ways to recover the cost for what it is to serve them. If we can figure out how many come from Langsburg, cost share with Shiawassee County or with the township where they're coming from, cost share with Bath Township, with DeWitt Township, cost share with other municipalities around here whose seniors are coming to eat. They also talked about why expand or put an addition on the center when the center is only used Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 5, 9 to 4, and the building isn't used the rest of the time.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
Let's close it down to just 3 days and then say, well, gee, you don't have a need because it's only open 3 days. That's pretty good, that cyclical reasoning.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just want you to be aware of what they were talking about.
Well, I don't even see the correlation there.
Well, the other thing, let me say one more thing, and not to beat up on you, I know you've got thick skin, but I know I was looking, but I try not to be caught doing that. You're talking about that the only source of revenue is for the meals, but I would disagree and say we have tax income. We have tax income that goes towards, this is a community thing that I am paying for as a taxpayer, as someone who's over 55, and I should have the right to expect some services from my township.
Right.
And so to plop it all into to meals, I feel is unreasonable because there is tax revenue, and I'm telling you, my assessment is going sky high. Every year, the max, and I'm going to be taxed right out of my house.
Yep.
So, and I'm sure other people are feeling the same way. So that, that's, if you're having this kind of increase on the assessments, that's increasing that percentage on tax revenue. So to keep cutting, when I know tax revenue is going up 5% a year, or more because of new builds, I'm just going to say, yeah.
I tend to agree with you, Deb. I think that the senior center is a community service. It is a service that the township provides to its seniors. And I think that it should be considered that way, not as an extra expense.
Or a burden.
Or a burden.
On the town instead of a service.
In the appendix, you can see on page 20, they used a drone, and on February 20th, we had ham and bean soup. And this is a picture of what the parking looked like the day we had ham and bean soup.
What time of day? It's not full.
It's noon. These were all taken at 12 o'clock.
Okay.
The next page, you can see the parking lot when we had chicken stir fry. The next day, you can see the parking lot. The next page on March 3rd when we had beef and noodles.
Wait a minute. Next page 22.
Yeah. How was that?
Oh, no, wait a minute. Yeah. Okay, I have to get my relationships with building here.
So, like I said, Miles has a graduate student doing an internship with him right now, and she did this study with Miles. I mean, they did it together. But this is really an exceptional report. It covers a tremendous amount of information, and it's very detailed. It's very professional. As I told Miles, I think the question was not one which we asked. And I fear that this will raise all kinds of, potentially could raise all kinds of difficult policy issues. Should we charge people from out of town more for their meal? Should we limit the number of people who can come from out of town? Should we, policy issues, should we have the center open 5 days a week? Would that be helpful? So I think that they're not done with this, but I think it's going to be very interesting once you go to the next planning board meeting, because they will do the final report then, and there is a public comment period which we can make comments. That's at 6 o'clock on Monday.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Does this report, the $17, take in account, I know it's wrong, where is the income from the food at on this report? Where's the income from the rental or the car sale? Where's the income back into it deducted from this cost?
It does say in the report that we cover the cost of the food.
Well, then, if we cover the cost of the food, then why is the food cost in proposal? Telling us how much it costs for the meal. They're just giving you the number that is the cost of running the building, not the food. Because the food
Here's
is
the
paid
cost
for.
for everything, but it sounds like it hasn't been netted at all.
Right, I mean, but if we're covering the food,
That's why I'm saying that we need to talk about this as a public service. It's not just the food. I mean, they're not taking into consideration that we play bingo, that we have crafts, that we watch movies, that we do other things in there, that it's not just serving it. That is our largest program, that is our largest service, but we do a lot of other things as well. They're not taking that into consideration. And that's why I would encourage you to come to the meeting on Monday.
If we're not careful, they'll start charging for our movies.
Well, or in other communities, I know, James, you've done some research about senior centers in other communities. They have memberships. Like Meridian Township, you have to be a member to go, or I think Prime Timers in East Lansing, you have to be a member to go. You have to pay, be a member to be a part of it.
Pay it or go through the door.
I don't know the one out in Center, what that one time.
Prime Time.
Well, I've been there to play bridge, and it cost everybody $3 to play bridge, and I've never joined the club, but, I mean,
Right,
so there's a charge.
right. But anyways, I wanted everyone to see this and have a chance to read it, because I didn't even know that they were going to be discussing this until like about 10 minutes maybe before the meeting. I didn't even get to see this before the meeting, so they were discussing something else before they discussed this. So I quickly read it during the meeting, so I wasn't really prepared. But if we have this now and read it, I feel we'll go to the meeting more prepared.
Judy, excuse me, how do we address the 5 parking spots that DPW is using that are right in the senior area, right? You know, there are the spots right up against the building, and then behind that is the DPW, that they use those 5 spots. How do we get them to, ask them to park in the main parking lot?
They have designated 11 spots for DPW.
Right, well, some of them we're not going to use, but what I'm talking about is the 5
What page are you on?
But page 12 shows where there is,
22.
well, I'm on 12 and it has the color for DPW as red, right there.
Right.
That
I was
shows,
looking at 22. But what page are you on?
I'm on 12, and the red is for DPW. And the green is for senior center, but there's a two cars parked there, right where they're at.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 parking spaces that are right opposite the green ones.
And those are DPWs.
Right, how do we ask them to park in the main parking area and leave those 5 spots for the seniors?
Well, they're designated for the DPW, so I don't know if we can. We could talk with them about it, but is,
How do we get them to, maybe ask them to designate
that a DOT decision?
only 6 spots in the front of the building, and the others park in the main parking area? And that would increase the senior center parking spots by 5.
And it's
And
close.
that's something that we should be looking into, to make a request and see if that could happen. I mean, it is kind of a common sense solution to help with, redesignate those. It seems like it would be a kindness. How do we,
Those guys can mostly walk without wheelchairs.
well, again, they can, if anyone has a physical challenge, then maybe that can be something to determine within the department that we're going to reserve, these close ones for those that have some challenges, and the able-bodied will park elsewhere.
But there's the sidewalk, you can get up the sidewalk, it's handicapped.
Yeah, I think that during this process of a discussion, long-term, we could talk about that. Take it out.
Yeah. Put at 5 spots.
Right. And you're saying have them park over at the purple on the other side of it. They're all physically able people, that's for sure. So Gene, you told me before the meeting that you didn't want to do a grant report today?
No, I didn't, because I want to wait and get the information from James on the costs that the township would like to do, or I think the township.
So you do want to talk about that, so just a minute. I'm sorry, Dana?
Well, there's 2 cars here that Nancy knows about.
To what?
2 cars,
2 cars.
2 vehicles, back to the parking.
And they, yeah. They're actually police officers' vehicles, I'm pretty certain. They're there.
Page are you on 12 again?
Well, yeah. Right across from the senior center.
Right.
2 vehicles in the green.
Yeah, so the police department has all these pink places that are designated for the police department. And these 2 vehicles are quite often at the senior center, in the senior center parking.
There appears to be some parking for the police officers down below, in between their lot here and Drum Hill Road to the south, but you can't see.
I think there's 3 of them there, 3 or 5. What are the,
On Drum North,
yeah.
I think there's 4. I just passed it, I just found.
Yeah, and I go by there and I
Oh,
count.
no, there's more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
They should have.
Where's that? At the bottom of the hill?
Yeah, right now.
Right down at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
See, this is looking south, this is Drum Hill
They
Road.
never had a road there until last year.
They have what appears to be parking spots right there.
Yeah. So
How much
we have
we
2 people,
There you go.
2 vehicles that we feel could be,
There's 2 vehicles, but what time of the day was this taken? Was the senior center even open? Because I don't think it was open because there's no other cars on here.
yeah, the senior center wasn't open when this picture on page 12 was taken.
I think you need to get a picture on the day that they have meatloaf.
Yeah, yeah.
I do too, these are really rather misleading.
I think they're random there. So I think these are random shots. It would be good to see, on those busy days.
Yeah, those meals that they took pictures of, not very popular meals at all. Okay, so,
I was on the grant.
excuse me?
Grant.
Yes, we're going to move on now.
I wanted to wait and get,
Do you want to ask James? He's sitting right here.
James, did you talk with the township and get an estimate on expanding the kitchen that they want to do? And is it possible to work together to do both of them together in the same grant?
We did have a conversation, and I hadn't heard back, probably more information and email that out before next week.
Okay. I'm waiting for that, Judy.
Right, no problem. All right, so next, annual report on the strategic plan. So last year, we presented this report. It has April 24th, 24 on the top of it that I printed. And it is the 2024 Senior Services Report to the Bath Township Trustees. And it is the work, it is a summary of the work that we did in 2024. Well, actually not, it's 2023 and 2024. So we've been talking about doing another report to the trustees. I thought I could just update this to include the things that we did at the end of last year, bringing us to 2025, and then would also be interested in sharing with them our strategic plan, which we haven't approved yet, which I've given you a copy of. I drafted and I intended to meet with Dana and Cheryl, we had a little subcommittee, and then we were planning to meet, the planning commission met, and I had to go to that parking feasibility meeting. So we've copied this. I'm sorry that my printer, my computer must not have been on 100%. I apologize for that. In looking over these, the one that really I hesitate about is the one that talks about volunteers. Let me see. So just to read down the goal 1, encourage development of comprehensive programs and services to meet the needs of Bath Township seniors. So objective 1 says, have a program and service manager at the senior center for the Senior Services Advisory Board to coordinate and collaborate with. I thought that was one of the most important things that we could talk about.
What program you want to know?
We got a tiny for one. Sorry about that, that's my printer.
Objective 2, work to develop resources through increasing partnerships and expanding collaboration, program development, and broadening networking. Objective 3, utilize staff training, which results in program expansion, increased collaboration, and expanded networking. I don't know if that should be our responsibility. Objective 4, focus should be on meeting seniors' needs for basic medical equipment, incontinence supplies, food security, and transportation. Objective 5, develop a volunteer program which would include recruiting strategies, background checks, training, and orientation. I don't think that should be our responsibility.
Okay.
What do you think?
I'm just saying that the whole thing here isn't our responsibility now, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, okay, these are, again, in our roles as advisory board, we're saying these things are very important. The problem that we have, and it's a chronic problem, is that if we don't do it, it doesn't get done. So we can offer these ideas, which I think are fabulous ideas, and important ideas, but nothing's going to happen. Because we're going to be told mind business. Tell us what you want, and then just...
And we're still waiting for the expectations of the board to come back to us, correct?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the board continuously says, you're only here to advise. And we get that, but if you don't actually receive our advice, if you don't ask for advice, if you don't, actually hear the advice, I mean, things are said that show that they're not listening.
Right.
So, unfortunately, even though that's maybe our role, I feel like the ball's being dropped on the other side because they're not receiving, requesting, and actually,
So what we're saying,
listening to that.
right, what we're saying from this report, these are what we think our roles should be. Okay.
See, I feel that when we go before the township trustees, we should have a report on our accomplishments, and we should present them with a plan.
Okay.
Every year they adopt our plan.
Okay.
They have in the past. We've presented it to them, they've reviewed it, and they've approved it.
Okay.
So in order to move forward, that plan that we gave them last time is done. This would be for their 4-year term,
Okay.
what the expectations of us are. We have waited for them for a complete year.
Yep.
April 24th was when we talked with them the last time, asked them what they wanted us to do. They have not given us any answer whatsoever.
Correct.
So we have continued to move forward based on our own strategic plan. I figure it's time for us to step forward, tell them what we've been up to, in case they don't know, and present them with the new strategic plan. That's my position.
And then if they adopt that strategic plan, shouldn't we be able to go forward and work on these things?
We should be able to.
Should be able to.
See,
I agree
I
that
agree.
Objective 5 is not our responsibility.
Yeah, the only thing is though, yeah, forgive me, because you know I can be very blunt, but I used to be a volunteer in the Senior Home Companion Program back when I was 18 and 19 years old. And we were trained about certain things, and some of those things were, for example, not to speak too quickly, to face the person when you're speaking and enunciate, to make sure they could always see your hands. You know what I mean? Not to be doing things with your back turned to them. There was just, I mean, I'm just thinking right now, again, from 40 years ago, the kind of training I received. And those are the types of things that are really important, that if a volunteer program is developed, that they understand as far as understanding the needs specific to seniors. And so it would be lovely if we could have skin in the game, a voice as to how this should work, because we've already seen firsthand kind of a dismissiveness about the needs of seniors, and comments made how they kind of don't get it. They kind of don't get seniors. They're not comfortable with seniors. Comments like that have been made over the years. Would we all kind of agree? And so I think it's important that if we're going to go down this road, that we request that we be a part of ideas for training and for teaching. I just think about the situation where we had a citizen who asked for something to be written larger and was told, no, you can see that. I'm not going to write that larger for you because it's perfectly legible. And what resulted from that nightmare? There is a lack of empathy for the needs of our community, our seniors' needs. And I've had personally, I've had a lot of training, and I would just I would just kind of beg those who are in charge to actually be receptive and not have this prideful attitude about you can't tell us stuff because you're only advisory, instead of saying you're a resource of knowledge. And we would love to hear from you. We may not be able to implement everything, which we're all grown-ups and understand, but that's not what's being said to us. It's basically a dismissiveness, and there needs to be respect for all that this board brings to the table. We know stuff. We've done things. We've lived life. And I would just hope that would be part of this situation, is that we would be...
I would feel better if perhaps it said, instead of develop a training program, it said assist with
Yes.
the development of.
Yes.
I think that I would feel better about that.
Yeah. I agree. But
We
it just...
also have the RSVP program, and they have come in to the senior center and explained the different programs that they have. The seniors can volunteer.
Right. So just I want to go over these quickly, because I would like to make this more than a draft for us to look at next time. Increase the number of participants at the senior center. Increase the number of Bath Township seniors we serve, and develop an outreach program to identify Bath Township seniors who would benefit from the senior service activities and programs. Number 2, develop marketing materials to use with churches, housing developments, and internet users, which accurately reflect the programs and services, activities at the senior center. And 3, participate in community events marketing the senior center. In a sense, I feel that this is what we should be doing, but I also know that we can't market anymore because we can't seat any more people at lunch. If we were doing sit and be fit, or chair yoga, or the balance training and things like that, then, you know, we can market those programs. But right now, with lunch and bingo and cards, there's really no more places for people to sit at lunch. You don't want to encourage more people to come to the lunch program because there's not enough room at the table. So I think this is really important work that we do, but I hesitate to do it until we have some solution to the problem that we're facing right now.
Question?
Who?
Sure. I have a question.
Yeah, Richard.
What do you think the correlation is to people eating at the senior center not being Bath Township residents and the amount of seniors that we serve in Bath Township? Do you think that restricts them?
Restricts who?
Restricts potential new participants in the senior center of Bath Township residents?
I've never been in there when there's been anybody checking at the door, where you're from, who you're from, or if you pay. And all of my visits, and I know most of the board members have never been over there for lunch, and maybe they don't understand that I walk in and say, I forgot to pay after I ate.
Well, that's something we talked about too.
Right, and it's true, it's a fact.
I don't know that we have the data.
Yeah,
Do you agree?
I think wholeheartedly, yeah. What needs to be is that person at the door saying, where are you from?
We've been saying that for a couple of years now.
Well, you gotta
I
enforce
thought
it.
Linda was.
Who's we?
The township, or the people that physically run the town. They can see.
James, you've served as our greeter for a few times, our cashier for a few times when Linda was sick, right? Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And did you feel that people freely walked up to the window? Or did you see people that just walked in?
From what I saw, my honest opinion is that the seniors that walked in, they all came over to me. I didn't see anyone.
Walk in and not pay.
Just walk in, not pay. Even for the extra, they were bringing me over money. That wow, this is really like an honor system.
Right.
They seem to respect that.
I think the problem, I don't think we have, and I could be wrong, I don't think we have any malfeasance. I think what we have is people who, oh my gosh, hi, Beulah, and goes over and gets wrapped up and forgets. I think, or has maybe a form of dementia and forgets. I don't think it's purposeful.
But my point is checking if you're out of town and like you pay more if you live in DeWitt Township. That just isn't feasible the way things are now.
Yeah, it won't work.
No.
Right, it won't work the way things are now. But I don't think it's intentional.
No.
But again, I think there are so many things that would be improved by having a greeter to direct to just the whole atmosphere.
Welcome.
To welcome
Orient.
everything. Yeah, it would be
Nancy, sorry.
lovely.
James, don't you think that would be better to have somebody by the door that could get acquainted with the people that are coming in so that they know who you are and you meet each person and be able to help anybody with any questions? Do you think that would be better than having to go to a window?
Well, this is my first time seeing this, but what you guys just were talking about, the volunteer program, that seems like that would be something if we had those committed volunteers that come on a regular basis to kind of fill that spot.
Have somebody, okay, all right. Like we want, I guess I'm back to the fact that that person sits by the door and they take money and they get to know everyone.
Well, then that person could theoretically change if they're a volunteer. Then you'd be right back at square one.
So Nancy is saying it should be a paid staff person, and James is saying it would be all right if it were a volunteer, in his opinion.
But you could not put a volunteer collecting money.
Right, they won't allow that.
But they
I
could also
understand that.
reconfigure that office if they wanted to and change the coat rack and the office and flip them. And the office window would be right there by the door.
What a novel idea.
You mean to make it function better?
No. Wouldn't that be it?
We haven't got one.
I do know, I
That's
wasn't
crazy,
that
Tom.
day, and I didn't pay because I brought my own lunch. I didn't want what they were having, so it's like, and people come in to play cards that then don't stay for lunch, so not everybody goes up to Linda's window, but if Linda was, the window was right there by the door, Linda would see people come through, so then people could say, I'm not having lunch today.
Right. There are a couple of people that bring their lunch or just come to socialize. I mean, I think I think personally, the largest value that the senior center has for whoever uses it is socialization, to stymie loneliness, to create community, to have a sense of belonging, to know that I am cared for and cared about. That's the largest value that senior center has.
Well, I think in this whole country, post-COVID, we learned that because of the damage that was done when that didn't happen.
Right, right. And people are still suffering from that.
Correct.
People are still suffering from that. But I don't think that the township board could hear that enough. I think they need to hear it again and again and again.
And once again, I think there should be somebody in here that oversees the senior center. We should have Karen or Taylor in here. Somebody should be in there at their meeting so they know what's going on.
We now have James. He's the recreation director.
Oh, I love that James is here.
Right.
Very much.
He is a liaison.
He is a staff liaison, yeah. And I'm on board.
Okay, let's quickly look at number 3, which says continue and expand services to Bath Township low-income seniors. I don't know how many people know this, but if you are income eligible for a bridge card in Bath Township, you don't have to pay for lunch. You get a punch card. And that's really important to seniors in our community, and to some of the disabled people in our community who come in there and eat. And I think that we just have to really work hard to ensure that that program continues to stay. So objective 1 is to continue to refer low-income seniors to our seniors for free lunch and activity punch cards. And educational programs provide new punch cards when the old punch cards are used up. Implement a food commodity distribution in partnership with CACS for Bath Township seniors. So if we can get a group of 25 seniors who would use the commodity food distribution, they would get free food once a month, big box full of free food. But we have to have 25 seniors who would participate in that program. Continue working with partner organizations, the Tri-County Office on Aging, My Cafe, Elder Law, and 211 to determine if there are other means for providing free or reduced cost meals for our low-income seniors. We do have some new programs in the community for free food programs for seniors. So that's why 3 is in there, because I think it's critical that we continue to serve our most needy in the community. 4, get input from our seniors on current and future services and program needs. Provide on an ongoing basis opportunities for seniors at the center to provide the Senior Services Advisory Board with input regarding their needs for services, activities, and programs. Objective 2, do formal and informal information gathering to determine the center's current, vibrant, and working cooperatively to meet the ever-changing needs of our seniors we serve. Analyze the data to guide the service and program expansion. And 4, work with the township on ways to meet these identified needs. And then number 5, expand the senior center. Continue to advocate for the expansion of the senior center based on professional conceptual drawings and local cost estimates at the current location. Utilize the new township, I don't know why it says new, but utilize the Township Planning Commission to determine the feasibility of increased parking at the senior center. 3, partner with Capital Region Community Foundation and other grantor's to complete an addition or an expansion of the senior center. Once funding is secured, expand, add additional space at the senior center, increase hours of operation. So those were the things that I felt we should focus on in strategic plan moving forward for 4 more years. Would you agree? So I'll make this change. I'll take out goal 1, objective 3, and I'll change goal 1, objective 5 to talk about assisting. All right.
And number 5, take the word, you've got increase 5 days a week for senior center and the staff, and you take that.
Okay, so I would just ask for us to I just need to know if you agree that when we make a report in April to the township board, that these 2 pieces should be what we would present them with.
I agree. With those mentioned changes.
Right, with those changes. All right, good.
And I think Ray's question didn't get answered, but the answer to me is yes. If we got 41% of the people coming out of town, out of the township, then if those people didn't come, then we could increase our activity and bring in more Bath Township seniors. So the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, I mean, mathematically,
Right.
I think it is fair to say,
Or theoretically, yeah.
Yeah.
that
I mean, we're,
if we've got 41% from out of town, and we know that there are times when our citizens have not been served, it's got to play a role. It's almost impossible that it would.
I think that's what I think. Something should be done about residents, non-residents.
Just don't know how you turn them away at the door, though.
And those 2 things, residents, non-residents, and the membership thing. Pay once a year. Something like that.
However,
I don't agree, but
I have a
Judy?
comment. I don't either, because if you only serve Bath Township residents, and you don't replace that 41%, then the cost goes through the roof for the remaining Bath Township people. They are going to split the cost of running that center among
Fewer people, way fewer
fewer
people.
people.
Then they'll just close it.
It's not sustainable.
Well, I mean, they were talking about that at the planning commission, and they said that perhaps we shouldn't serve the people meals who come from out of town, and I said, well, from 9 till noon, we have 20 to 25 people playing cards in the senior center, and 40% of them don't live in Bath Township, so at cards are done, we tell them they just gotta go.
Show them the door.
That just doesn't work, you know, he said,
For years, they charge more for.
Exactly. How would that even,
Not live in Bath.
right, what would that even look like for enforcement?
And they, in my opinion, they should reinstate that policy.
right,
They always charge $1 more if they didn't live in Bath.
right, it's $5 if you live in Bath, if you don't live in Bath and you're gonna have lunch, you gotta pay $6.
Yeah, I think that's the only workable plan, because also, we have, I'm not sure if we have. I can imagine that you could have someone from out of town and a family member, because they're not allowed to drive anymore, or not able to drive anymore, and they get dropped off, and now what, we're gonna tell them you can't eat here because you're not from here. My ride's gone. What am I gonna do? I mean, there could be, yeah, it won't work.
We just can't do that at all. I think they got that at the planning commission meeting, I hope.
Well, I still say that we need to contact different townships and see if they won't go on board with us as far as helping with the senior center.
Well, that was in the minutes, so that
Bring that up.
That was discussed by the township planning commission.
And we're,
Nothing's been
I mean,
done yet.
they're just gonna make a recommendation to the trustees. There's
Okay.
I thought
Because
it
it's never
was
been done before.
discussed with the
They just create a,
1%.
or had been.
That's exciting.
Yeah, but,
It's never been done before, but we came up with it. There you go.
I mean, it's
That
pretty
could be
logical.
awesome.
That's pretty logical, but, you know, he says it, right, he's, in my opinion,
according to
just
the
trying,
board
he's
minutes
got no way to act
from the February
us money.
meeting.
for that.
Ray was going to go to the Board of Trustees
Didn't mention that to him.
and talk to them about asking the other townships to supplement for our senior center. Did you ask the trustees?
Yes, that was what I just was talking about.
And what did they say?
They said they hadn't done that yet, and it was an interesting theory or,
Concept.
process, yeah, concept. And that was pretty much as far as it got.
And will
They
they,
didn't think it was very, they didn't think it was feasible.
are they willing to look into it?
Yes.
I would think that there would have to be pressure from their citizens. If they, if they knew something was at stake, to say, hey, we're going over to bat, would our town consider throwing a little something their way? I think it would have to come from their citizens, because they have a fiduciary responsibility to their citizens.
Well, and those demographics that they showed.
Yeah, the demographics that we have.
That's very important.
I think we should update our emergency contact file. I mean, somebody who lives in Waverly who came in because they were coming to a car, or they were going to play bingo, filled out a form and never came back. They're counted as part of that 49% that doesn't live in Bath that comes to the senior center. I think we need to update our emergency contact book so it's current. Good discussion, thank you. Filling 2 vacancies, I don't know, Cheryl, did you ask about the possibility of you becoming a senior services advisory board member?
I believe I asked Ryan, and it was no, we can only have one, but maybe I will push that a little bit and see if it's in writing somewhere.
Just as a citizen.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Also, there's a woman at the senior center, I don't know who she is, but I'm going to find out, who speaks to me periodically about having watched these meetings and how she loves to watch these meetings and how encouraged she is by these meetings. And she even, I told her about the planning commission meetings, and she watched that meeting too, I think. So I'll see if I can figure out who that is. If you're listening, come see us. Identify yourself. Perhaps you'd like to be on the board. Activities, anyone want to talk about activities? How are things going? Nancy, pretty good?
Yeah, that's all good. Our Tuesdays are not as busy as our Thursdays for cards, but yeah, we had 27 people, I think, last Thursday, and I won first place.
Yay, finally!
That's Euchre, correct?
That's Duker, yes.
We used to play Shoot the Moon and that old wheel. If everybody for themselves, you don't have a partner.
And that's one reason why we couldn't have games like that.
Yeah. I mean, it is Euchre, but it's, a little different.
I think, we could have other,
Yeah, we have to set them up with James.
yeah, we could have lots of things going on. Bridge, she says.
Okay, under new business, now that we've gone through all the strategic planning and our annual report, I would ask Ray if he would tell us about the township board's discussion about reviewing the need for community-based advisory boards and commissions.
That hasn't been put on the agenda to work on yet.
Well, nobody here knows about that except you and me, so could you tell the Senior Services Advisory Board what they're considering?
They're considering reviewing all of the committees to see if they're needed or see if they need to be reconfigured, or like for instance, the art committee doesn't exist, but it's still on the books, So, and then here you have an ongoing, I'll say problem, because you apparently altered your charter, if you will, to have 9 people instead of 7. 9 instead of 7, is that correct?
The board appointed, that was board of trustees.
Okay, and that's another thing too. They want to know if they should be paying, or if they, I don't know if that's a statutory thing or not, but those just general questions, that need to be answered.
And when are they going to do this?
Well, I can't answer that. I don't do the.
Aren't they going to do it as part of the strategic planning process?
That I don't know either. I would assume if it was a line item in that former strategic plan, then yes.
So will you keep us informed about that?
Yep.
As we move forward. Thank you.
Did we talk about Foster Woods or
No.
what Foster
No,
Woods is?
Yeah, Foster Woods, we missed that.
Yeah, on the agenda, item F, under old business.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So, James, did you get any word from Taylor about whether or not we can pass out information to our takeaways on the Foster Woods program?
She was working on that. So I'll get more information and let you know.
So the answer is no. We don't have any information on that yet. Okay, we just need to know when she makes a decision. Thank you. Recreation Department to report. That's you, James. What's going on?
We have the MSU Extension Cooking Class coming up April 9th, and that will start at 1 o'clock.
What day?
That's a Wednesday
Where is that at?
at the Senior Center.
And is it cooking for?
Actually, I'm sorry, it's 10 a.m. that it will start.
And what class, the cooking class?
Yes.
What is it?
A healthy cooking class. And on April 30th, we have the Disability Network, capital area. They'll be doing a cell phone usage training. And that will be April 30th at 1 p.m.
What day of the week is that?
Wednesday.
Great.
And I have the antique buy and sell event that will be on May 5th at 1 o'clock.
Cinco de Mayo.
Great.
I'm gonna be dead. Oh, so I got so much stuff. Go ahead. Sorry.
And I was contacted by Christy. She wants to do a Smiles on Wheels in August. So I reached back out to her, kind of playing phone tag, but
What's it called?
Smiles on Wheels, so you get old cartoons and stuff. And they'll come to us. I believe they will. Like a mobile unit. And then this is for the community, but we have a Puzzle Palooza that will be at the Senior Center on April 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. So the community is invited, so
And what is that entail?
it's everyone receives, it's 6, well, we have up to 9 teams, 6 people on a team, max, and everyone will receive the same 500-piece puzzle. And the first, second, third that put the puzzle together the fastest.
Oh, really?
Gets the prize.
They can do it in 2 hours?
That's, I looked at other communities, and that's, they give a 2-hour window,
Oh, okay, well, then I can.
And what time of day is the 24th?
6 to 8 p.m. That's a Thursday.
Great.
It's
When
in
I was a
not
kid,
just at night, I
I
can't.
have 4 sisters, I'm the youngest. We used to have a card table literally sitting right in the living room. Puzzle on it.
Yeah.
You know, every day we'd work on that puzzle.
Yeah. I'm hoping we get families or, individuals.
So will all these things in April be on the April menu that they're probably preparing right now?
That is done. Everything's on there besides the Puzzle Palooza and the antique show. That's in there.
That's an idea.
What about something to assist people in using the internet?
And using what?
The internet.
And we're starting out with the phone usage and then not see what's available as far as technology-wise. We have laptops.
Oh, yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah.
That was my next question, is do they have computers over there at Senior Center? I don't think they
Yeah,
do.
we do have one.
Do you? Okay.
So with this group, I know they do technology around internet safety and that kind of stuff too, so I can talk with them. We'll see how this phone usage goes. And then
James, did you ask the police department if they would come in with the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide detector?
I haven't reached out to emergency personnel yet, but that is
The
on.
fire department, I guess it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is exciting. Anything else? Cool.
That's it for right now, but I'll have more coming.
Keep it
Great.
busy.
Yeah, keep it coming. We like that. BOT, that's you, right, report?
That's me. First thing that comes to mind, I didn't bring a list. The township website is really being updated. Taylor is in charge of that, and that's going to be fairly nice and allegedly much easier to navigate and find things. So that's pretty big. That's been suggested and but not implemented for like the last at least 5 years, I would say. And we did mention briefly, Ryan did, about the committees and advisory board review to see what that, I just spoke on that. So that's pretty much it.
Any questions for Ray? Public comment? All right, come on. Or at least speak up.
It works, I think, what works.
Yeah, there's a new mic up there, Marie.
People said they couldn't hear it though, just for info.
Well, you have to talk into it.
You can't hear it unless you're talking to it.
Really?
And it's hard to talk into that one because it sits so far back.
It's a real,
Anyways, Marie,
it's
you
a
have
real
something
simple
to-
question. Mark's name,
Mark Craner?
is that what it is?
With an N.
C-R-A-N-N?
K-R-A-N-E-R.
Okay. A-R-N-E-R. Got it. Thank you. That's it.
Cheryl?
If, going back to cutting down on numbers that eat, if we say we cut it in half, it won't be $17, it'll be twice that per meal cost when you do the snow plowing and everything that.
They're going to recalculate.
I know they will, but that whole concept still will take place because you're still paying the cooks, which would be legit. That the whole concept is kind of backwards, that will lower our income, but will also increase our price per meal if we cut down on numbers in any way, shape, or form. And the more numbers we have, the lower the cost will go per
There are
meal.
set expenses for.
Yes, there's set ones, it doesn't matter if you feed 1 or 100.
Exactly.
And that concept.
Staffing would be one of those, and, yeah. The heat.
Heat, air, snowplow, whatever.
Doesn't change with how many.
Is that a question or is that?
Well, that's my comment. And the other comment, that meatloaf is so popular. Damn it, why can't we have meatloaf 2 or 3 times a month?
I'm gonna clean up that comment a little bit.
Clean it up a little bit, but I mean, they're truly the meals that are most popular, and we're telling the township what the people want. Not salads.
I don't
All
want
want a salad.
I don't want to eat meatloaf every day.
I didn't say every day.
Especially doesn't want
Take
to
the chopped meatloaf.
I think the point that you're trying to make, Sherry, is that I think that menus have changed. I think we would serve meat and potatoes more often than we do now. I looked at the menu for March, and I think every Friday they're having soup and sandwiches. That isn't what I thought the senior center was to be about, a soup and a sandwich. So I thought we were supposed to be serving
Right,
more.
I think we should,
Main
again,
meal, the main
how do we
meal.
bring that to fruition? How do we instigate that? I feel,
The cook's are the one that does the menu,
I was
so.
going to say, who does the menu?
The cook.
But
who tells the cook what to do?
that's due to the Lenten season. That's why they don't serve meat on Friday,
It's Lent
because of Lent.
right now, yeah.
And some people really like soup and sandwich. Soup is one of my favorites personally, and I know other people that like it too. So I think the cooks do a pretty darn good job of a diverse menu
They do a great job.
that would, appease to a lot of people. I didn't like corned beef and cabbage, but a whole lot of people did. And also the cost is more.
So we're on member comments now. Ben, do you have a comment? Jean?
I just did.
Dana?
No.
Nancy?
Yes, food prices. And that being, extra food prices. Anything after the meals are done, the extra food prices. I think they should actually be higher. We do have a person that comes in, does not buy a meal, and then goes and gets an entree for $1 a quarter.
Really?
Yes, sir.
That's a little malfeasance.
That ticks me off.
That's a
when I
little
see it.
diabolical.
Yeah. That really bothers me when I see it.
And all they sides added together doesn't equal the cost of a price.
That's right, yeah.
The cost of a meal.
Yeah.
And let me say that I agree with that, Nancy, because if you wait and you buy an a la carte meal, it's less than $5.
Yeah,
It
it is.
should be $6. It should be more
It
than
definitely
buying
should.
a whole
Or you,
meal.
or you should even be allowed to buy extra food unless you bought a meal,
How many of those are sold?
whatever's left.
Depends on how many people came to lunch.
So is it fair to say that the,
If they cook for 80 and only 60 people come, then there's 20 meals that they sell that
Yeah,
day.
but I mean,
Keep it out.
there should be some data on that, maybe that could be that.
so is it fair to say that,
Data on how many people come for which meals.
is it fair to say that food prices should be, for the extra, food prices should be higher and should be proportionate to the cost of a whole meal? Is that,
I would say yes.
Can we make that recommendation?
And part of me says, if they do not buy a meal, they're not subject to extra food. This person that comes in, I mean, why shouldn't she come in? If you break down the price to make it a $5 or $6 meal, so you've got maybe $2.30 for the entree, and $1 for this and $1 for that, whatever.
It should come up to the $5.
But still in all,
Or more?
well, I don't think more, and here's the only reason why, I think not more, is because it is a bit of a win-win. You're not having, food isn't going to waste.
correct.
So I wouldn't want it to be punitive, because they are doing a bit of a favor by taking the extra. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
But not to have it be less.
So it is
So it
less,
can't be played.
it is less than $5 now?
Yes.
Yes.
For extra food.
Interesting. So
And
just
some
start
people are-
paying the full meal price. That's what happens.
Well, yeah.
Right.
But they can buy individual, like, they can buy the side dish, they can buy those things. So maybe to have is that the entree is this, and when you add it all up,
Yeah.
it's
When
$5.
we have our love, it's $5.
If I wanted more meatloaf, I could get it.
Yes,
Oh, you always can.
Cool.
if there's any
If
left.
there's any
And
left.
just scrape that.
Oh,
That's right off, and,
my mom would say, well, you like pizza, why don't you like ketchup? I said, well, that doesn't.
oh, that's not the same.
Okay,
Yeah, so, Deb, do you have any member comments?
No, not in addition to what I've already said, so. Well, I'll just put what I just said about, I don't think it should be more.
Ray?
On that note, that maybe we should write a letter to Karen and Brian. You could CC me about that, looking into raising that price on the extra meals or whatever. All right, so our idea is get to the group, the board.
As secretary, do you want to write that letter down?
No,
How about if I write up a draft, send it around,
for approval.
yeah, and for tweaking and whatever, and, yeah, okay.
But do we want to talk about prices now or not? Just let Ed do it.
They would do it definitely, so we just talk about, I would suggest that we just say,
Raise the
I
price.
think the price should be increased.
Proportionate to the cost of the whole meal.
Yeah. Okay.
Seems like it's only a problem with someone abusing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you buy your meal for $5 and then you want an extra piece of meatloaf and you get that for $1.25, you bought your meal, so it's like you do get a little discount.
Right.
But the person that comes in, it's like, oh, we wanted to be like messed up for everyone, but
But there are concerns about the money too. So there's no reason not to, it also makes financial sense. You know what I'm saying? I mean, without being punitive.
And I was addressing for the people that come in after the regular meal and buy, someone mentioned that they just come in and buy the entree for $1.25 or something.
But this person doesn't come in after the meal. That person is there before.
Hanging out, just hanging out.
They be there at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock,
And
and
they,
hang out all day. And wait.
And
Yeah.
I have a guess that might be.
You probably know.
let's all go look at it.
Oh, okay.
Is it her?
Yes, it is.
But it seems like it would be really easy to make, entree $3, the vegetable $1, and the dessert $1. Because some people don't want the dessert, they can't have the sugar. But they can have a meal for, an entree for $3.
Does the entree cost $3?
No, right now it's $1.25.
Oh,
Yeah.
She's suggesting they raise the price
It
to
should
$3.
be, the entree,
for the entree,
in
yeah.
my opinion, should be $3.
I agree. Go
Okay.
for it.
Did you put that down in the?
And there's usually a
Very good,
vegetable.
very good, all right.
And there's usually 3 items.
A dessert.
And a
Take
big,
the veg $1 and the dessert $1, then you got your $5. And cookies are 50 cents. And that's fine. They're just, yeah. I bought extra cookies.
But that's not $1 for dessert.
2 cookies per dollar. I mean, make it $1.
Yeah, okay.
I thought 2.
Did you see the
Per dollar.
Meeting adjourned.